Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Duval Dive. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you are listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Travis, it's always awkward when I open the show calling out your name, champion, because we're going to talk to Travis about Travis. This is a Travis Hunter episode, and I think this is a topic we've broached some. Look very smart on it so far, but for whatever reason, the debate, the conversation continues. I shouldn't say for whatever reason. Obviously, the conversation about his utilization is always the focusation. I don't know if that's a word, but it is now of the Duuval Dive here proper. And listen, off the bat, what is it? Underdog Dynasty. Josh Norris had some puts to make. Travis, what was that?
He had a statement on the socials, and I'm like, dude, this is an interesting conversation. Let's just get into it. Just discussing the nuance about how Travis Hunter's been deployed as of late. Like he's basically stated that Hunter's was limited to three receiver sets on offense because that's how they kind of deployed him early on with learning the offense, especially with his limitations in training camp. That Josh wanted to see him more in those two receiver sets. So he can kind of just have a bigger impact within the offense, kind of get the ball more often, be maybe more of those first receiver read type situations. But also as a cornerback being deployed within the defense, he wasn't even on the field in the first half of the game. We've talked about this in so many of the podcast since that game, because it's like that was honestly absolutely weird. Not being put onto the field for any defensive snaps while your team is down 21-0 with giving up touchdowns from all the Jacksonville Jaguars starting cornerbacks, and Travis Hunter's not on the field. Why isn't Travis Hunter on the field covering Davante Adams man-to-man when the other substitutions were made into the game? And he said Adams entered the game second in end zone targets across the NFL. So wouldn't you want your cornerback with that skill set of Travis Hunter manning up on Davante Adams? And I think it was an absolutely fine question. You're on the socials, and I'm like, you know what? I think that's worth at least having a conversation surrounding, because
it sets the tone. Yeah, it sets the tone. And by the way, Travis, you cite the Chiefs, sir. We here on the Duval Dive had this conversation going back to the 49er game, where he was suspiciously pulled early. Now, I still like my theory of, hey, 49ers are a tough group. They're obviously running the football. You're getting blocked the bleep out of the way. Why don't you sit this one out there, Rook? And I maintain that that's still my theory I operate on, especially, and we even said the particular point that may have convinced the Jaguar bench, so to speak, to do that was when Trevor Lawrence threw the interception that was called back thanks to a defensive penalty DPI specifically by the 49ers. When Travis Hunter was attempting to make a tackle, he got manhandled. It just didn't matter. So
this was an interesting one to me, though, because the way that the Jacksonville Jaguars, just in general, like this is a Travis Hunter conversation, but it's not only a Travis Hunter conversation.
Of course.
And this is where this becomes a little bit weird to me, because I actually had a very similar conversation with someone earlier this week about Jarian Jones, and they were like, "Well, how come Jarian's not playing very much in the defense?" And I was like, "Well, because Montaric Brown, who was competing to be a starting outside corner in training camp, didn't play early on because he was injured, right? Like, you remember he had a training camp injury that took him out through all of training camp. But you remember how everyone talked about Montaric Brown's play and how he seemed to be at the time a favorite to maybe land in this scheme, because they thought he was going to play really well in this scheme, sort of like he did in Mike Caldwell's similar zone scheme. Well, Montaric Brown is playing very well right now as a starting NFL corner. Like, I think that's objectively a factual statement. And I know he's not Travis Hunter, but he is absolutely playing well. And that game, the first game of the season against Carolina Panthers and the second game against the Cincinnati Bengals, Montaric Brown did not play. He did play a little bit against the Houston Texans, and then they ramped it up against the San Francisco 49ers.
Mostly for his run stopping and tackling ability, too. Let's remember he's
and his physicality.
Yeah, exactly. He's the most physical corner on the roster. I agree with that.
They did that for over a year now. Like he's the one of
Mhm.
the physical cornerbacks at the line of scrimmage, and especially his shedding and everything like that.
Correct.
He's that guy. And then you're protecting Travis Hunter, who is playing a little bit of everywhere while also learning the nuances of the defense, learning the nuances of the offense, etc. I think that's a good, solid starting point to that conversation of saying, all right, Monteric Brown is his own conversation because he's a contract year cornerback who they wanted to give the ability to truly earn that spot because it seemed like he was one of the favorites to earn that spot in training camp.
Yes.
So that's part of the equation with Travis Hunter. But then the other part of the equation with Travis Hunter on the other side of it is the offense is just its own interesting thing.
Well, and before we jump to the offense, because we're going to get there, and I got some things to say about that. I feel like defensively we would be remiss to not mention what Jordan Lewis has done this year, playing corner. Right, Jordan has been your defensive player of the game at least once on Big Cat Country, if not twice. Not saying he had a great game last week. I'm gonna lead with that. I don't feel like he played particularly bad, but it wasn't great. Obviously.
No, he had a rough one. I'm not going to BS you. He gave up 2 touchdowns as a cornerback. That's not going to be a good game.
Oh, well, and I was about to say, but was it Tyson Campbell bad? I say all that to say this. Yeah, Jordan Lewis, again, to your point, gave up the 2 touchdowns. Understood. But I think the reason why this is getting the most flex now was the point made in the tweet. 2 of those touchdowns was part of a 21-point launch by the Rams in this game. Meanwhile, and correct me if this isn't completely accurate, but my understanding was what occurred historically, and by historically I mean this past Sunday, or whatever the Rams game will say. His first snap against Davante Adams was a PD.
It was. It was a very nice. It was a very nice PD.
I'm glad we brought this up. We're going to show don't tell.
Yes, it was a very nice PD where Davante absolutely had that ball coming down, and Travis Hunter finds a way to get it out, finds the ball mid-air and gets it out of there. So yeah, that was his first drive of the game, gets the ball out immediately. And before that, everyone else was kind of having their way with the Jaguars. Davante Adams was having his way with pretty much any other defensive back up until that point.
I mean, considering 2 rookies scored for the Rams that day, what you said previously was just fine. But, but I say all that to say, by the way, before anybody goes, oh, well, Matt Stafford got hit on that play, of course. No. Let's be clear. For getting jacked up, Matt Stafford put up a pretty damn nice ball on that play. Let's be honest. But yeah, I like, and one could even argue that Davante Adams had, air quotes, had Travis Hunter in his pocket, but to your point, made a great defensive play to make sure it was a pass defended. And where is there more of that? Now, here's where I'm going to need your help, because I know we had it right to a certain element on defense, right? What we said initially, I know I did, I think you did too, was, when we got the question from the Duval Divers, the Duval Dive, whoever you want to say, of how much would he play on defense, our response generally was it would depend on what the opponent's bringing out, right? You and I predicted that there would be a bigger snap count for the Bengals because of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. We were absolutely correct, as it would turn out. Then the Niners game happened. They seem to have rolled that back. The Chiefs thing is where my mind started to get a little bit boggled. Granted, I think some of it may be because of their lack of receivers. Maybe it was an opportunity to keep Travis Hunter more involved offensively since the attack. And you could tell me where I think I'm wrong here, but since they were attacking the corners for the Chiefs more, they wanted Travis Hunter to do that. Travis Hunter did have a stop facing Travis Kelce on a pass on 3rd down. So that is a thing that happened.
Yeah.
But, would we have expected to see him more? Maybe, maybe not. The Chiefs game was weird, I think.
There's been a few of those where I have to have all the, I have to create a theory just to try to understand the full understanding of the thought process, of how they're deploying it, because you don't know what's being said between these guys, between this coaching staff and the player and everything else. You don't know where he is as far as learning all the offensive playbook or all the defensive playbook or whatever. You don't know everything, so you may never know everything until the memoirs are written.
The
15
only thing
years from
we
now.
know for sure is that the Titans stole the playbook, right, Trev?
Big, and then we only found that out after the fact, unfortunately.
Correct.
But no, but as far as Travis Hunter is concerned, so because there's been that whole up and down part of managing Monteric Brown, managing Greg Newsome, who after the Tyson Campbell trade, who's also in a contract year, like managing that, he hasn't got a significant amount of snaps either. Managing the Travis Hunter growth and up and down that's going to be, because I just look at this like this Jacksonville Jaguars roster is being ran like a roster who didn't come into this thinking that they were going to be good, and that's not a bad thing. I want to be very clear in saying this. I think that they were doing this like, I need to find out who these guys are. I need to find out what I have there for building for the future. Oh crap, we also just happen to be good, and that means I can do this and win games, but I still don't fully know what I have here because I'm making long-term decisions based on how these guys play right now. So I gotta give Greg Newsome some moderate snaps just to find out what I'm working with here in this system, and is he going to work out? Oh, Monteric Brown, his contract year, I gotta figure out what this looks like. I'm not going to just give the role to Travis Hunter. He's going to have to earn it, because we truly do believe in playing these rookies, but we also truly believe in our dudes having to earn their spots. And he didn't really have that ability with the limitations of how often he's going to be able to play one side of the ball. He can't play both because, duh, he's one dude. So a little bit of that all kind of matters. And I thought this is a multi-year plan. I just look at it in that way. They want by the end of the season.
Let's be clear. It may still be, right?
But right by the end of the season, he wants to know the full offensive playbook, maybe the full defensive playbook, and truly be able to get into the nuances of all of it and the communication surrounding all of it. And then, all right, cool. The job is yours because you earned it based on your play on the field, not because we just gave it to you because we drafted you first, or whatever it is. Like, he's obviously the best cornerback on this roster, in my opinion. He's obviously the
opinion
best.
of many. Let's not act like you're going against the grain here either, right? Like that statement's been loosed by national pundits, by even friend of the show, T. Wiggs himself, dropped that conversation in the offseason before I was ready for it.
Yeah, but so he's obviously the best defensive back, on the roster. Yes. And he's obviously the best, or at least the most athletic receiver, the best ball skills on this roster. Absolutely. But there's still a lot he absolutely still has to learn. And I think that that's the part that's going beyond folks. Like, they're not thinking about that part of it. Like, we've seen I want to say cover. I want the missed assignments on offense and things like that. Like, we've all been talking about the defense so far, but we're forgetting that he's trying to do both, and that's the overall plan. Is not to overload him, because he still has to be in meetings on both sides of the ball. And now they're actually expanding his route tree to the point where he had a 90% route rate this past week in week 7, and which is his highest up for the season. Before that, it was mostly him playing in the slot. Now he's playing now he's playing in the slot and outside this past week. Like, they're actually using him all over the field. They're using him more like a number one receiver, not all the time, because you still have Brian Thomas Jr., but maybe you might see more of that because again, the arrow's pointing up literally week by week with Travis Hunter at receiver. But that kind of just leads us into that next question of, like, in core GSC Sobers on X.
CG Sobers. There we go.
CG Sobers on X. My apologies. In your opinion, what's the best way to utilize Travis Hunter? He appears to be both the best wide receiver and best DB on the team. So what would you recommend to maximize his impact for the Jaguars? And honestly, if you want him to be good right now, like the Jacksonville Jaguars coaching staff and the organization, just all these guys combined, have a major decision to make, because you can try to win now, but you could end up damaging or limiting Travis Hunter's overall ceiling. Or you could slow play this to make sure that he's foundationally sound and foundationally balanced, with knowing this whole complex offense and knowing the defense, and you may then have a higher ceiling later because now the guy truly does know the whole offense and the whole defense backwards and forward. And then he can grow into being the leader you truly want him to be. So you can make him be the guy he was at Colorado right now, but then that also means that he might have limitations on the offense, or it might be a lot more just what they did at Colorado, which is most of his highlight plays playing in weren't playing in the system. They were playing off schedule and things that were just like backyard football.
Or even roaming a bit on the defensive side, too. I know he had an interception. I saw an interception happen in the bounce house where he picked off KJ Jefferson coming out of nowhere off his guy. And it was the most athletic play I saw happen at the bounce house as I covered that game for the Black and Gold Banner Red.
Yep, and that was in cover 6, where the safety was nowhere to be found, and actually could have easily been a touchdown the other way because it was just one of those plays that just, hey, man, this is the guy being a dude. It's just a dude with great ball skills, just seeing the field differently than everybody else, which is one of his major strengths. So overall, I'm just like, dude, they have a decision to make. Are you going to bend under the weight of trying to win a game now, pay now or pay later, basically? You can pay now. Yeah, you can pay now with the limitations of Travis Hunter and hoping in the offseason that he's going to be able to pick the playbook up and just make those strides at that point, or you can pay later by using him like he was used at Colorado, giving him a 95 plus % route rate right now as a number 1 receiver, and just whatever happens with BTJ in that situation, and also give him a 90% the snap rate at DB and hope that he can just handle it all without having the coverage bust or without having the mental errors on offense, which again, we've still seen even as recently as this past week. We showed you guys on, the Duval Dive on Thursday, the play that was schemed up basically for him that was the tip ball, and his eyes got around just slightly late. That might have been a 50-yard play for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like stuff like that. It's just
and
small
if he happens to break a tackle again, it's a touchdown. It's a thing he does. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's the small timing things of that nature that he's going to take that time to kind of get right on. Like it's those types of things where I'm like, it's got to be difficult because it's an NFL playbook. It's already difficult. It's difficult on its own, and now
it's a Liam Coen playbook where everybody's getting penalties, right?
Yeah, you're doing it with a defensive playbook on the other side of that. Like I get. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I'm probably going to keep slow playing. It's like they're doing. Like they're slowly aiming for the end of the season. And that feels very obvious to me. So from my perspective, playing him as your number 1 receiver while still giving him maybe that, 80% route rate feels right to me, which is we just saw something close to that in week 7. And playing him in those 3 DB sets on defense, not full time. I'm still talking about 60-70% of snaps on defense feels reasonable to me.
And anything more than that. What was it they said in the offseason too, leading in once Stones officially said Stone, I'm calling him Stones now. Jimmy Gladstone's Jimmy Stones. What was he talking about? What was he and Liam Coen talking about? Like getting up to 85%.
They wanted it to look exactly how it looked at Colorado, which was 84%. Yeah, so if that's their aim, but I always took that as that's their aim by the end of the season.
Correct, and I agree with that concept. So, and I'll add I think there's a very important element I don't think we're addressing directly. Again, this is not me cheapening your answer. It was bleeding great, especially from a DB who knows what the hell he's talking about at that position where it is clearly the weakness of my point of view. However, I look at this a little bit more from a top-down elevator level. The best way to utilize him also involves the team's perspective, and we did touch on the other corners and things like that. My question is, let me pose it to you, Travis.
Okay.
On paper, who's better at their particular job, the receiver core or the DB core?
Yes.
Fair.
As it stands right now, I think the answer has to be the DB core. It has to be the DB core, but I don't think it's actually closer than I think you.
Let's not kill the point I'm trying to make outright as well, right? Your answer of yes, I'll accept that. You hadn't, but I'll accept that. What if I told you the offense was without their tight end sensation, who's great at blocking and bailing you out in situations.
Mm-hmm.
You're without De'Ami Brown, who got jacked up legally for once by Al-Shaair. And you have your top receiver going through some sort of
something
mental what have you.
Monster, biggest talent. I got you. Yeah.
He's being put where he's already proven he can flip the field. Please see the catch in the 49ers game deep in their territory, where otherwise the 49ers would have come away with points on a third and I'm going to say 13 in their own end zone, right? That's why he's gotten all the offensive snaps he's gotten, and defensively he's gotten less, because say what you will about the defense and their struggles, which they have struggled the past 2 weeks. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But they also lead the NFL in turnovers. They had gotten Monteric Brown back. Really at the
run stopping.
Yeah, exactly. Really at one point, their biggest liability until they traded him was ironically their number one corner in Tyson Campbell.
Facts.
It looked like the corners needed less help. Now, granted,
for a moment, yes.
Exactly. In the moment, it looked like that. Now, why the hell you down 14-0 and you don't go to Travis Hunter at that point? Bruh, put the drugs down, Camp. That's on you, dog. Okay? But to that point, I think that element had something to do with it.
I mean, believing in you guys, there is something to be said about that. Like you just said, in a moment, the DB core looked like they were the stronger group, and you maybe thought that you were going to be just fine, especially with them without Puka Nacua.
What had happened?
And it seemed like you thought wrong.
Yeah.
And primarily in the red zone, it seems like that's what happened. So I get it. I get how it happened. Like, I'm not going to be reactionary and just be like, "No, yo, ain't the Brown." Like, no, I see how it occurred.
I'll even add this. In a game where your veterans are committing all these penalties anyway, and you're down 14 points, he should have been brought in.
But it was also mostly the safeties. Because to be clear, Devontae Adams did not do much of anything between the 20 and the 20-yard line. He did all of his damage within the 20, within the red zone. Like, right. He had, I don't think he had very many yards. He might have had like 35 yards.
It was relatively few. You are correct.
But it was 3 touchdowns because it was all in the red zone. And you're not going to put Travis Hunter in only when they hit the 20-yard line. And now I want to put you in cold to play defense. Like, I mean, you could, but you are then doing him a disservice. Like, so there's a give and take there. And I get how we got there. But that's probably how I'm playing him. If it's me, I'm trying to balance this thing because I want Travis Hunter to be more than just the athletic superstar who was rough around the edges on his ability to run crisp routes, or rough around his edges in how well he understood the offensive playbook earlier in the offseason. I need him to be more than just that.
Right.
I need him to know more than just that one spot. I need to make sure he knows all the wide receiver spots so I can find the matchups and isolate the defense's weak spots and make that guy a superstar. So again, and if I really want to do that, then I gotta slow play this a little bit on offense, and maybe that impacts defense. How much we're gonna play him on defense, also just from sharing him in both meetings and everything like that. So that's where I'm landing there.
That being said, I don't blame those members of the devout that say play him until he say he tired.
But it's not about how tired he is, man. It's about, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's about limiting him. Do you want Travis Hunter to only be the guy he was at Colorado, or do you think there's a chance he can be so much more than just that? And if you think there's a chance of him being more than that, you gotta deploy this thing the right way. You're only going to get one shot at this. And I think this is not a Super Bowl roster, and I'm just going to be honest about that. Like, if you think it's the Jacksonville Jaguars roster, Super Bowl roster, bruh, put down the weed. But also
stay off the weed. Well, it's your point too. Maybe next year in that Super Bowl run year, I'm joking. Maybe he does get up to 74%. Maybe that's possible.
I'm just saying, like, this is obviously not that. And again, you don't change the plan just because the circumstances surrounding the situation change. If Brian Thomas Jr., who's the receiver who we thought Brian Thomas Jr. was going to be, everybody will be very comfortable with Travis Hunter continuing to slow play this thing on offense. If Tyson Campbell was the cornerback we thought he was going to be when this coaching staff was hired and this general manager was hired, we'd be just fine with Travis Hunter slow playing this thing. So let's keep it a buck. This is what it is. We are now trying to ask
So
him
the
to do
panic in the
significantly
moment.
more. You're panicking in the moment. You're floundering because you think there's an opportunity for this Jacksonville Jaguars team to make the playoffs, not to win a Super Bowl. I don't think that's most people aren't to that point of saying that craziness. They're just thinking, well, I mean, we need somebody to do it. Travis, you're the guy. Obviously, you're the guy. Nah, man, that's a bad decision. Broke people make bad decisions. And I'm just keeping it a buck. Like sometimes when you're struggling and when you're in poverty, you make some decisions that may not be the best for you in long term scenarios because that's what poverty does. People in poverty make poverty decisions. Act like you have money, make better long term decisions. You have this great investment that is Travis Hunter. Treat him like a great investment and make the best decision that's going to be greatest for him long term. I think you'll be very happy with what that investment looks like next year. That's why I'm landing on that.
I like that. No, it's a good take. And if I were to summarize it, you're doing another version. Forgive me, it's a Colts reference, but you're doing another version of Jim Morris Sr. Playoffs? You talk about playoffs? I just want to develop Travis Hunter. Talk about playoffs?
I mean, you may be able to do both. But yeah, I think we're there.
There you go. Tell the world where you can be found. Travis Hunter Holmes. Hire Travis Holmes.
Oh gosh, I can be found on all the socials, man. Travis D. Holmes. Writing covering the Jacksonville Jaguars on BigCatCountry.com. If you are listening to the sound of my voice on the covering the Jacksonville Jaguars on the Duval Dive YouTube, please click that like button and subscribe. I mean, help us out tremendously. Again, every time you guys click that button, an angel just cries at one tear, just because they just love that you're just that nice to us, man, and we appreciate you. We do. I swear. We can writing covering the Jacksonville Jaguars on BigCatCountry.com. Find us on all the socials, man. Travis D. Holmes, and let them know where you can be found, sir.
As much as I throw love at the Duval Divers and the Duval Devout, I don't think I've gone celestial yet. That's a new one, Travis. I liked that. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Check out my writings with the Black and Gold Banneret and the Night Shift podcast, as well as the Bolt Blitz Uncut podcast with Booga Peters, 80 Simons, Robert Gibson, Butt D. What a fun crowd. Good times. Travis D. Holmes. Honor, joy, and privilege. Thank you, champion, for doing the thing. Thank you, divers, for keeping up with us here during the bye week, because we're trying to keep up with you because football, because Duval, whatever. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.